Hello, and welcome back to another episode of WGBH's Drama After Dark. I am Jackie Bruley, joined as always by Andrea Willanen.
Hello, darling.
You may notice that tonight we decided to actually try a little bit with our outfits. Andrea, you look fabulous, very 60s.
Thank you. You look amazing. Like I said, when you first got on camera, very Rita Hayworthy. I am here for it. And as we were talking about before we actually went live, this was after weeks of being in quarantine and wearing just fancy pajamas. A feat, to be honest.
A real feat. I'm not like typically a person who spends a lot of time on my makeup because I'm lazy and not very good at it, which is why I'm not very good at it probably, as I don't try that often. But this took me a long time, and I spent a lot of time watching tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's surprising.
Okay.
It turned out okay. Yeah. I definitely my bouffant / this thing isn't as high to God as I would like it to be, but it's definitely adding a weird length to my head that I'm not sure I like. But overall, the makeup and this fake bang is pretty cute. I'm happy with that.
This will be making
it into the regular rotation.
I very briefly thought that you actually cut bangs, so...
I almost did when I was trying to make this happen, and then it finally happened, but I had a minute where I was like, I'm just gonna cut them!
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because you can't come back from that.
No, it's a big thing.
And speaking of things we can't come back for, I have put this off long enough. I think it's time for the speed recap.
It is our final speed recap, and boy, what an episode for you to speed recap, because I feel like this is one of the most busy of the season, to be honest.
Well, here's the thing. It kind of was, but some of the stuff that happened could be sort of distilled, so that's what I did. But
okay, all right, that's fair.
I don't know. We're gonna see. I'll get the little thingy here.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to watch and learn from you.
Right. Yes. All right, ready?
Yes.
Go. It's fall in Poplar, and this episode is not chill. Gran gets diagnosed with esophageal cancer and let out of prison for Val to care for. Meanwhile, Phyllis and Lucille care for two moms who have the same partner. Shocking. Everyone supports Val when Gran passes, and the team comes together to get the budget reinstated and some midwifery and Popular saved for the next year. Oh man, wow, I have more time.
Yeah, you did shorten it a lot, didn't you, pal?
I just, I didn't want to take a risk.
No, it's fair, and it did come together, and I think you did hit all the key points, especially one of my favorites, which is Eddie and his two girlfriends.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that a little bit.
Oh my god, like this show usually has some family drama, but that was like, yeah, that was it. You can tell it's the 60s in Poplar now is really the vibe there.
I will tell you that when Bonnie, girlfriend number 2, or I guess, we're not going to number them. We're not going to
let's call them hippie girlfriend and like preppy girlfriend.
Yeah. So when hippie girlfriend showed up, I was like, oh, thank God we finally have a hippie. We got one, boys.
Yeah.
Delightful. Now, speaking of favorite moments, we asked you guys at home what you liked this season, what your favorite moments were, and a couple of you responded on Twitter. So before we get too much further into our specific thoughts about this episode, I'm going to read a couple of them because they're delightful.
I do love fan favorites. Those are always my favorite.
The fans are the best every time.
Always.
I don't think we've ever done a show where I haven't been like a huge fan of the fans. So
it's true.
This is no exception. Okay, so here we go. At Nanatus House 1, which is a great account that does a lot of tweeting about Call The Midwife, says, my favorite series 9 moment is without a doubt Sister Julianne's excursion in episode 5. I love that it wasn't hinted at in the preview, so it was a complete surprise. Also love Sister Monica Joan covering for her later in the episode.
Yes, that was definitely a big moment, I thought, for Sister Julianne and for the show. Because she always seems like the one who never doubts her path. In the way that I saw with Sheila, where Sheila was clearly from like, I feel like season 1, having moments where she was like, maybe nunnery isn't the right place for me.
Yes, totally.
Sister Julianne is such a rock that seeing her have that moment where this woman instills this, you don't understand what I'm going through, and she goes to experience what life is as your average woman was just amazing. to be.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite. It's like she didn't she almost never lets herself think about anything other than her serving her patients and serving her community and serving her sisters. So it was nice to see that for sure.
Yeah. And then I think we had another, you said we had another one from a
We
fan?
did. Another favorite moment from, oh, hey, it's Megan in the field.
Megan in the field!
So while she's out there in the field, her favorite moment is, my favorite moment of the season of Call the Midwife was definitely the arrival of the young doctors. Close second, Dr. Turner and Shayla's wholesome date to the sound of music.
That is also like, it's a wholesome date, but I would, if somebody took me to see the Sound of Music and then brought me or bought me fish and chips out of a cart that was in newspaper, I would be like, you're the one. This is it. This is the moment.
I mean,
it would be, I have to say it would be beaten for me if we went to see Fiddler on the Roof, but to each his own.
Well, I know what we're doing when this is over, Andrea.
Hey.
We're just going to watch both of those very long movies back to back and eat fish and chips.
I hope Adithia's ready for me to invade the house.
He'll handle it. That's my husband, by the way, not just some random person that we're name checking.
Your roommate.
My roommate. Now, so those are our fan ones. Keep them coming. Zach will put more in the comments. If you have your favorite moments, like send them over. But we're going to quickly go through our others from this episode.
Yes.
Because we couldn't not talk about Trixie and her amazing
stand and deliver moment, as you kept calling it.
I couldn't not.
Amazing.
Trixie is always so great, and I love her so much. But this episode, between her just being like, a good speech isn't going to be enough, and like figuring out how to save the day, and then showing up and still giving a very good speech.
I'm not going to lie. We've talked about how Call the Midwife makes you cry a lot with family moments, but this was a big moment for me where I started tearing up just hearing her talk about her work and hearing her talk about this moment in women's health was such a big thing where they're talking, you know, birth control's coming out and people are learning to family plan and doing all this stuff and learning that it's women's bodies. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful moment. I really, so good.
She nailed it.
She did.
Another quick favorite moment that we had, Baby Doctor and Phyllis watching some wrestling together.
As we know, shout out to my significant other, Anthony, who got me into wrestling as it is today. I saw this moment and the first thing I thought was like, I have to tell Tony because I've already forced him to watch Call the Midwife. At the very least, he can see the 5 seconds of wrestling that are in this episode.
It made me so happy. I also just love that Phyllis thinks that she's had kept a secret in this house full of like very observant women and Baby Doctor.
Nobody's supposed to know.
So cute. Now, okay, so those are some of our favorites. We obviously want to know what yours are. We also would love for you guys to weigh in on the next segment that we're going to be talking about, which of course, you guys know what that's going to be. It's our debate. And Zach's put up a Twitter poll. Should the Nonatus group and the Turners join with St. Cuthbert's and sort of merge into that hospital situation, or should they strike out on their own and run with the wind? So tell us what you think.
Yeah.
And because we want your opinions, please.
Yeah. But before we get to everyone's opinions, let's express our opinions on this because we both had pretty different ideas. Though we agree Nonatus has to continue.
Yes.
I don't think either of us disagree on that. We both definitely each had a hot take on what they should do.
We did indeed both have hot takes on what they should do. Would you like me to kick it off?
Go for it, buddy.
All right. Here's the deal. I think that the best financial solution for them is going to have to be to join St. Cuthbert's. Now, do I love that that's the reality of the situation? Obviously not, because everything we've seen of St. Cuthbert's is kind of screwed up. There's like not enough.
Stinky.
Yeah, it's like funky. There's elevators that break all the time. It's just kind of a disaster. But I think the financial situation is like, yes, we've gotten another year. Trixie was amazing and she bought them more time. However, that's not going to last us long enough. And we know from history that the sort of indomitable march of hospitalization is starting to take over and gather steam. So like, I think if we want to still see midwifery and popular, like serving those patients who really need it, they're going to have to base with a hospital. And it's not the end of the world. A lot of midwives today have admitting privileges at hospitals, which is how they're able to sort of smooth some of those like legal things. And it doesn't necessarily stop you from practicing the way that they practice, or I don't think it has to. So that's my bid. Join up with St. Cuddy's, keep it safe, make that money, honey.
And I hear you. However, as somebody who was raised on a childhood diet of It's a Wonderful Life, I firmly feel that if they go to the neighborhood and they're like, hey, Poplar, here's the thing. We're going to get shut down. We're going to get moved unless you guys make a giant stink about it and make it evident that we need to stay here. And barring that, you guys go to the council and tell them that we need to be here. What we need is money. And like, we didn't see the community, because it is a poorer community, we didn't see them really get it together for the incubator, but at the same time, that's new technology that they don't fully understand their need for in some ways. They understand there is a need, but they don't really, they're like, well, we've been getting along fine for several hundreds of years. Why do we need an incubator now? So I think, but Poplar has been such a mainstay in the community that if they were to reach out to people and they're like, quarters would be great. I think back to that moment in Coming to America where Lisa McDowell says we would love some donations, the kind that jingle are great, but the kind that fold are even better. Like, get us your pocket change. I feel like people would turn out, especially because there's people from that neighborhood who have gone on to bigger and better things. There's people like Violet who are so anchored in the community. And even though she can't full out just say, everybody doesn't get my money anymore, it goes to Nonatus only. She can't say that. I get that. But I think she has some pull that when you have, more than a week to solve the problem, she can probably, bring her power to bear. So I think that they should just make it a full community health clinic at this point. And of course, I don't understand how British community health works, because they do have the National Health Service.
Right.
But here in Massachusetts, at least, I know that there's a lot of community health clinics that tend to be run differently. And I think that's where they should look, because it would also dovetail neatly with what the Turners have been doing.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. And the sort of tie-in with the Turners is sort of potentially a really good thing for them. Like, it's having a doctor on staff is usually a good thing, because of the way that the system recognizes doctors versus nurses, which we won't get into because that's an even hotter take from both of us.
No. Especially when you have one doctor who's just sort of like, why not have some pethidine?
Well, yeah. And don't worry, people at home, we are going to talk about that later.
That's coming up.
Yeah. I think it's a really tough issue, and I wish that they weren't facing it. I also am with you on bringing up Vi, because, like, she's a fancy councilwoman now.
Yeah.
Save everybody's bacon, Vi!
Yeah, and I get that she can't just cut people's money and give it to the Nonatus house, but I think also with more time, there's more she can do. So I'm curious, though, if we've gotten any responses from what people in the community think.
Let's take a little gander. Walk my fingers over to the Twitter poll here. As it's loading, we will hopefully have some votes. Come on, Twitter, get it together. Okay, I will vote the way that I argued. Oh, interesting. This is one of the more even ones that we've had in quite some time. So it's not like that even, but it's more than I expected. So about 38% of people have agreed with my argument that they should merge with St. Cuthbert's. Okay. And 63% have said no, strike out on your own.
All right, interesting.
So that's really interesting to me. And now we haven't had our top record-breaking number of votes, but we have had a few. So if you haven't voted yet, please do. We're very curious to see what you guys think at home. But 2/3, 1/3 is closer than I expected that to be.
It's true.
But
I think since this is the last episode, and since we've now started a tradition of doing crystal ballers for the first episode of every series, we should go on to what has historically been called We Were Right.
But tonight, alas, the segment is not called We Were Right. It's called We Were Not Right.
We were not right.
This is very hard for us. Andrea and I
we're usually very good at this. We love to be right. Like, it causes a lot of strife when we disagree on something, let me tell you.
Yeah, This was a difficult segment to put together. I almost didn't want to put it in, but we have to be fair to you guys at home and not, claim that we're right.
We have to do even reporting on the facts. Thank you.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Just the facts. My gift to you, though, Jackie, is that you can say what we were right about.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. I needed that. Okay, so we'll start out with the thing that we were right about, which I feel really good about. Trouble with adopting May. I think that this could have been very surprising, but we went in and we were like, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably it'll be that. And we were completely right. I hope that resolves itself next season, because that whole plotline is a huge bummer. And
I was really nervous that going into the final episode, we were going to wind up seeing the mom come back and be like, hey, check out these papers I got that say I can take my kid back to, I'm so sorry, was it China?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it's the Hong Kong adoption program, but I don't know geopolitically what
at the
deal
time
was.
That's why this is at the time Hong Kong belonged to England, so that's probably
history check from Andrea.
Hey, we probably should have done a history fun facts about history with that one, but next time. One thing that we were very wrong about, which I am going to argue to the death on would have been a great plot line, is that the girls' fun modeling tights or stockings side quest went nowhere. And I really wanted that to turn into like a Trixie and Lucille become weird stocking models on the weekends. And maybe that is how next season they can fund a Nada's house.
That's how they save the day. Andrea, you're really onto something.
I've done
They become massive models, a la Twiggy.
If I get credit for this, Call the Midwife writers on your show, you don't even have to pay me. You can just take that one for free.
That's very generous.
I am generous.
Now, another thing that we got wrong that I also would argue would have been a great plot line that they unfortunately didn't go with is little Tim, who's not so little anymore. He's now quite tall and becoming an adult.
Tim, as we're going to call him.
To me, even though he's not like a child that I know. You're growing up too fast, Tim. Stop it.
Terrible.
We thought that he might get a little significant other this season and that it would distress everyone greatly. Now, I still think that would have been very cute.
I do too, and I think that one of the things that entertained me about that was that I thought we were going to see way more of him at school, which is why I think, because that was in the first episode, and we were like, oh, okay, this is like an interesting new plot line, and instead they were just like, no, he has to go work on other things, and we'll bring him back when we can, which is how it worked out. But speaking of significant others, I will say I feel cheated out of this last one. That's the only time I'm going to say that about this show, because this show never cheats on emotions, but I feel cheated out of our being right about this last one, which is that Cyril was going to propose. And there were so many moments where we were like, what? I thought that was it.
I honestly, honest to God, Andrea, at that last moment when he comes up and says, I love you, and goes in for the cheek kiss, I was certain he was about to take a knee and propose to her. And you know what made me so sad? Monica Jones thought the same thing I did.
I know. She's in the background like, here it comes.
It's coming. No. How dare you break that sweet old woman's heart, Cyril?
I know. It was rude, frankly. Frankly rude.
Ridiculous.
And I'm sure Lucille, the thing about Lucille, though, is she will straight up, when he's done, when he needs to do it, she's going to be like, all right, Cyril, it's time. You're preaching. Your business is underway. I'm doing great. Let's get on this.
Let's get it together. Come on, buddy. I don't have all day.
She's not the kind to like be like, that ring's pretty. She's going to be the one that's like, so why aren't we getting married?
Like, I bought this for myself. Put it on. Let's go. Courthouse. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Monica Jones, our witness. It's going to be great.
Perfect. I love it. We already wrote that too. That's also free to you. Our gift to you.
We're generous commentators for this show.
Now, we're getting a couple of comments on the social phone. I can see it blowing up from here. So I'm going to take a quick gander over there and see what we got.
Yes, please.
Well. Our friend Amanda on Twitter said, can't wait for Drama After Dark to drag Eddie. Yes. Amanda. Eddie, buddy. What are you doing? Ridiculous.
Oh man, he was an interesting character because he definitely had a lot going on there, and like you felt bad for him, but at the same time I was like, you having a weird life growing up doesn't mean that you get to cheat people out of their life experience, Eddie.
Yeah, come on, Eddie.
Get it together, Eddie.
Eddie.
Which also, Eddie's the name of our engineer, so hopefully he's going insane right now.
We love you, Eddie. Already, not TV
Already.
Eddie. You're on my list.
However, that leads us to another man, actually.
Yes.
Because, Jackie, we need to talk about something.
You know what, Andrea? We do. We need to talk about Kevin.
We do need to talk about Kevin.
Which is our next segment. And also, if you forgot, folks, Kevin is, of course, the name of Baby Doctor. That's his real name.
Which took me a minute the first time you said we needed to call the segment this.
I only remembered because they said his name like 6 times in that first intro discussion between Trixie and Phyllis and Trixie and Val and Lucille and Baby Doctor. They call him Kevin 4 or 5 times. Anyway, let's talk about this. Oh Kevin.
Gosh.
Kevin,
get it together, Kevin. You line up a perfectly good job and you let the smack get in your way, Kevin.
I can't get over how heartbreaking that last scene is, where he just clearly needs like a lot of counseling.
Yes, yeah,
and love from like parental figures. I don't know what's going on with his home life, but when you are relying on your coworkers to be your mom and dad, that's not ideal. Now
it isn't.
They're great, and they're probably like a pretty good choice if you're looking for surrogate parents. But
we know the Turners are great parents. However, you're a grown-ass man, Kevin.
Get it together, Kevin.
Get it together, Kevin. I mean, I think the thing that really got to me was I honestly thought he was going to try and be better. And now when Dr. Turner rolls back his sleeve and he has so many track marks you know, they're like, oh, geez. And then he leaves. I'm kind of heartbroken, and I'm hoping we're going to see him again.
I know, that's my real question is, do we think that we're going to have Baby Doctor back next season? I'm hopeful that he will be back because we didn't really get to see a resolution on his friendship with Frances and how that all she must be feeling pretty betrayed right now.
Or the connection that we sort of felt when he first came in with him and Val.
Yeah, and they were like kind of getting their flirt on fairly consistently throughout this season. So maybe he'll be back next season. I don't know how long in Call the Midwife land it takes for like one to go to rehab. But man,
she went away and then she came back. Well, Trixie went away and it was like 4 episodes, right?
Something like that, but that was because the actress was on maternity leave.
Yeah, but you know, there's a precedence. Even if in this situation, I don't think Kevin's pregnant, or actor who plays Kevin is pregnant.
Now that would be a real one for the history books.
You never know. You know, that actually reminds me that I would like to talk about you bringing up Trixie makes me want to talk about, or me bringing up Trixie makes me want to talk about our most valuable midwives this week.
Yes, most valuable midwife. Let's do this. This was a hard one this week.
Oh boy, was it. So I think we kind of agreed on who this episode's most valuable midwife was, though.
We did, which is, about half the time we completely agree.
Yeah.
And this time, we thought that the most valuable midwife was, of course, our girl, Lucille. She's awesome. And this episode was a particularly strong episode for her, between caring for Gran and helping Val through all of that, and being a great nurse to Petra, who's the first of the women that Eddie.
Jeez.
Eddie. Lucille's she's just such a shining light. I love her so much.
And she did such a great job of, really understanding what Val was going through and providing what she could without being overbearing. And I think with both of us, people who have dealt with having figures that we were very close to in the way that Val was with her grandmother, that can be very important, is that presence without forceful, work towards you. is so good. And I really appreciated her sort of support style that she gave to Val. And it was just beautiful. I thought the way that she participated in Gran's care.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yes, Andrea, that we both have really been through similar hard situations like this. And I think the way that Lucille was able to help manage Gran's care so that Val could just be there and be just a granddaughter and not anything more was really important. And also she was really good about like making a space so that Gran could pass away peacefully. Like one of the things that you read a lot about in these situations is sometimes people need to hear like it's okay to go, and she did that beautifully.
Yeah. So it was a very good moment, I thought. And I think, again, like you said, working with Petra was really beautiful. And then, I mean, even in the end, with all the strife that she and Cyril have had this season, it was like a lovely end for them to finally, you know, both console each other and forgive each other for all the difficulties that they had. So I think she was definitely most valuable midwife this week.
Yeah, our MVM for sure. Now, here's my question. Who's your most valuable midwife of the whole season?
Oh, 100%. When we were talking about this, I started on one person, and then the more I thought about it, the more I moved to another person. And that person is Trixie.
Nice.
And thank you. Thank you. I don't always see eye to eye with Trixie. However, this season, I feel like she was almost the unsung hero up until this final episode, because she's offering free alcohol counseling to young doctors.
Yeah.
She's, you know, helping out other folks with keep fit, get fit. You know, she's really supporting the community in that way. She helped her wonderful blind mother really learn and helped build a community with her. And then her speech in this episode, I mean, she's really becoming a force for the community in a way that's truly impressive for a character that's often portrayed as selfish and, you know, materialistic or a little vapid.
Yeah, I can't fault you on any of your arguments. However, I'm going to disagree with you because I have a different MVM for this season. And that person is probably not a surprise. It's Lucille. I was looking back on you know, all the midwifery we saw this season, and not only did she like nail today's episode, but I think the other two really standout moments for me are the elevator delivery, which was terrifying and a big deal, but also the care that she showed for Val's cousin Maureen and baby Warren. Probably like the worst day as a midwife that you can have, and she, you know, knocked it out of the park. So I gotta give it up for Lucille. I love her so much.
It was pretty. She also did a pretty fantastic job this season. And just as a final shout out, my original thought was Frances, because we finally saw so much development from her really in the last like half of the season. But Trixie really stood up in a way that I think was impressive for her character.
Literally in this episode.
Hey, look at you go.
No, I also have a note here that we wanted to talk a little bit about a non-midwife person who was really amazing this season, and that's Miss Higgins.
Oh, yes.
Shout out to our girl Millicent, who in this season dealt with a horrible breakup after her boyfriend got sick.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sergeant Wolf. We miss you, Aubrey. Her friendship with Phyllis is maybe the sweetest thing in this whole season to me. From going from like sort of weird rivals to recognizing each other's skills and talent and loving each other. Great. And then she's the first person who noticed that something was up with Baby Doctor. And she like, and shuts that down.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's really important to remember about it is this whole season is everybody falling apart around Millicent. And except for the 1 minute where she's sadly looking at her little plant and Phyllis has to take her out for tea. Aside from that one moment, she keeps it together. Like, she is there and she's like, I am so British. None of this phases me. I am the most British human being besides the Queen. And just take care of your little petty squabbles and I will be here holding down the fort.
Like, I could starch a whole series of nursing outfits with the stiffness of my ability to handle things. God bless.
Exactly. I'm curious though if we had any comments of the day where people had most valuable midwives.
Well, I think that's a great question. I'm gonna do a little look-see, little wander through the social phone because we had a few comments come in. We have from Megan on Facebook, Trixie's speech definitely made me tear up. That emotional music didn't help. Crying emoji. Yes, Megan. Accurate.
Yes.
Sarah, hey Sarah, says, my dad, Larry's mom, had esophageal cancer. Oh, I'm so sorry. So Elsie's story hit home. Didn't we call that last week? So that's a shout out actually for you, Andrea, because you were completely right on that.
Hello. It was actually similarly, Sarah. My dad had esophageal cancer 5 or 6 years ago now. So he's, you're never fully in the clear, but he's, knock on wood, which is my desk, and now I'm shaking my camera, but he's doing pretty well to this day. But that was, the symptoms were all there with the difficulty eating and all of that. So when I heard she had it, I was really upset, because one of the first things they tell you online or in the literature is that it's like deadly. But these days, for the family and friends at home of people who might have throat cancer or esophageal cancer, these days it's so much more treatable than it used to be. And then it could have possibly been in Grant's time. I mean, cancer was not, it was like you cut it out and that's what you get, basically, back then. So I think that nowadays there's a lot more hope for it. And there's a lot more treatments that can help people get through it. And like I said, my dad's was pretty bad, and he's still grousing about me being in the house. So, there you go.
So glad he's still here to grouse at you.
So glad.
We have a couple more comments. Anthony, hey, says, Eddie seemed like the kid who ran away from things when he was in trouble as a child, and lo and behold, he ran when he was in trouble as an adult. You are correct.
Burn!
Sick burn and very accurate burn. I like that we're getting drags in the comments on Eddie, because that guy was not my favorite.
Eddie.
We have a comment from AJ on Facebook saying that would be quite a plot twist about Kevin leaving to have a baby. That would be. And I think we've got a good comment of the day over on Twitter, which is actually not the closing monologue. So we're going to go with something different.
All right.
Mix it up for the last episode. Why not?
Yeah.
So at Janet_Lynn says, I absolutely love Call the Midwife. Every single episode, such brilliant writing and acting, such wonderful storytelling, so many stories of the very real ups and downs of life, such assuring focus on love and families, friendships, faith, and the miracle of birth and new life. Couldn't have said it better myself. This show really gets to us sometimes because it's so emotional, but it really does hit home in sometimes the best ways.
It does. And I think you and I were both reluctant converts early on when we were like, we're going to do Call the Midwife. And we were like, oof, 8 seasons to slog through before we can watch the season. And then it was a rough 2 months watching all the ups and downs. But now I'm very attached to the characters in ways I haven't been with previous series that we've done.
Totally.
And some of it is because it's so realistic, I think, on how life is full of ups and downs. And unfortunately, this is a down because we are going to close out our final show for Call the Midwife this season. Yeah. And we've been delighted to have all of you, our audience. You are, of course, what makes this show important. We want to send a shout out to our awesome guests this season. Tina Cassidy, Nanda Lowe, Jen Dederick, and of course, Megan in the Field, who is not just a guest on the show, but also part of our crew. Thank you to our crew, who also do an amazing job getting us on air, especially in this uncertain time of quarantine. So thank you to our directors, Zach with the social media, Eddie, and everybody else who helps make this show happen every week. And thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Andrea. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you online in front of other people.
It's true. It's true. Is there anyone you would like to thank?
I would like to thank you and our fans and just everybody. You kind of said it better than I could myself. We got a good squad here.
It's been a great season. And for everybody out there who's a fan of Drama After Dark now, keep an eye out and we'll be announcing what we're doing next. Hopefully we'll be announcing soon. Hopefully we'll be back in June with a new series.
Yes. No promises, but we've got a plan. So
we're going to try. So we'll all see you soon. And stay safe out there and have a great break until we see you again.
Wash your hands.